the comics like they had regularly been doing, and I can understand that. And obviously, a lot of them didn't read their contract, because every contract is virtually the same. And it says we can hypothecate, rehypothecate, and that's the end of it. And it's been that way for the 50-odd years I've been involved.
Bob, we're about to go to break. What do you make of the banks announcing this week that they want extra cash on hand? The federal government's, the FDIC's telling the banks that, and the private Federal Reserve is as well. What do you make of those moves?
I think probably they feel that during the season there'll be more of a demand for dollars. If you go to the bank, and I've heard the story so many times, and wanted to withdraw $8,000 of your funds, they say, sure, I will order it for you and come back in 2 weeks and get it. Or, why do you want to do this? What are you going to spend the money on? And on and on.
No, so that happened to my wife yesterday. It wasn't even the $10,000 amount, where it kicks into the FinCEN deal, and they were just flipping out. You want a few $1,000s? Oh my gosh! Or you're not with evil, are you? I mean, this whole country, we're treated like prisoners, a cross between 5-year-olds and prisoners. And then there's gang members festooned with weaponry, dancing around jollily, injecting copious amounts of steroids. Bob Chapman, stay there. And we're going to play some more of that Bruce Fine interview coming up, too. Stay with us. I'm now looking at an article by Kurt Nimmo where the media is calling Ron Paul a stunted idiot because he supports the Constitution. Now they're openly decrying the Constitution. Remember the cover of Newsweek about getting rid of the Constitution? It caused our problems. No, the globalists have gotten rid of the Constitution, and now our problems are just beginning. Now, going back to Bob Chapman here. Bob, here talking to you about the state of the world. Why do you think they're gearing up the FEMA camps, massively expanding TSA checkpoints? I mean, obviously that they want to clamp down on the public, but I don't see this working. I mean, there's got to be a method to the madness. I guess the globalists just think they can consolidate total power and control. But, I mean, if I was a globalist and had all this control, I wouldn't want to screw everything up. But I guess it's just their nature, Bob.
Well, I give this a lot of thought. And I do think there'll be an election. Some people do think that there might not be. And if Ron Paul runs against Obama, then I think between now and the election, they'll really cool it on picking people up. But the people that they do pick up will be selected because of their religion and national origin, and that would be Muslims. And, Americans would say, well, who cares about that Muslim over there? And I think they would selectively start doing that during the coming year. And after the election, were Ron Paul to be elected, then a lot of this would be reversed. A lot of things will be reversed. And you all know that. But if Mr. Obama was then reelected, then they would turn on the faucet, because there's no elections in sight and they don't care that much about the congressional elections. And so they would go ahead and start slapping people like Alex and I in jail if they can find us. And that's the way I think they're going to do it. It's going to be imperceptible over the next year, and then after that, they'll get serious. And what will that be based on? A falling economy. Today they came out with figures. People are spending more than they're making, and their wages didn't expand at all over the last quarter. And that's been pretty much the case over the last several years. And more people are going to lose their jobs, and unless banks start lending lots of money, the small and medium-sized firms, which create 70% of the jobs. And so that would be the catalyst: higher unemployment, Are they going to extend the extended unemployment beyond the end of February? I don't know, but if they do not, then that could be a cause of trouble. And so I think they're just setting up and getting ready to pick their spots.
And you've got the defense secretary saying, we may hit Iran. You've got the Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman 2 days ago saying, yeah, we're going to probably hit Iran. And then you've got all these reports of different Western-funded terror groups blowing stuff up in Iran. They're really trying to poke them into doing something. And the Iranians are saying, okay, we're going to do another drill of shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. What do you think about what the West is doing versus the Iranians?
Well, I think the West is trying to pick a fight, and the Iranians are trying to avoid it because it's lose-lose for them. But on the other hand, the damage they inflict on the United States forces, as well as the Israelis and as well as Israel, could be substantial. And will Russia get involved, or will China get involved? I can't answer that question. But and especially with a Russian election coming up, which is not that far away. And so, yes, they're going to do something, but I don't know when they're going to do it. I mean, this thing's been dragging on for 4 years. And so maybe they'll do some other things like pit one Muslim nation against another. These people have a lot of arguments between each other, even though they share a common religion. And so all is not copacetic, so to speak.
Well, that's another point. They sell it in the West like every Muslim wants to kill every Westerner or Christian. I mean, those groups hate each other probably, if there is all this hate, 10 times more Shiite, Sunni. I mean, the Saudi Arabians and Iranians, at least governments, absolutely hate each other. Just like Iran and Iraq. I mean, the idea that the Muslims are going to come get us, it's a paper tiger, and Al-Qaeda is Western created.
We're on the march.
I got pretty emotional at the start of the last hour when I was just thinking about all the crimes the globalists commit. It is so staggering for somebody who's not a psychopathic control freak, just a normal person, to discover this and then to have the paradox of a giant group of sheeple who have no idea what's happening to them versus a tiny group of just really dangerous people who are real-life monsters walking around. You hear about monsters in the countryside. I mean, these are humans, but what's in their minds is beyond any fiction you could imagine. Jacking with the food, jacking with the water. Official Rockefeller Foundation documents, you know, we put out a year ago, linking right to their site where they're like, yeah, we're developing sterilants in the vaccines and the water and how great it is and cancer viruses. And you learn in the 1920s they discovered that most cancer was viral, and so they pushed vaccines and have it added to it, and cancer's up several thousand%, diabetes, neurological disorders. I mean, that right there, that out of all the major phosphate mines, they're getting radioactive isotopes along with the fluoride, and that they add it to the water, and that they get off on lowering people's IQs, giving them degenerative diseases. And you wonder why folks can't get angry. We're poisoned. And then it's real. And then a cop pulls you over and wants to search your car, and you're like, the government puts poison in your water. And they're like, I know, I hear your show, I want to search your car. Well, do you believe me? Yeah, I believe you. I don't. It's like they're in a trance. It's like, okay, I'm saying this. It's true. What are we going to do about it? It's so over the top. And then I'm going to say it again. It's good that I can still get really freaked out because I'm so close to this all the time. I know Bob has been doing it longer than I have, fighting tyranny, that you tend to get numb to it. But let me tell you, talking to cops over the phone, military people, police officers over the years, having them on the show, just from Oklahoma City, who pulled up like a minute after and saw the feds running around and lying and saying they'd been in the building when clearly they hadn't been, and then threatening them and saying, I'll kill you and your family. I mean, that really just totally brings it home that everything we've said and talked about is unfortunately right on target and worse than we can say. I mean, Bob, I'm ranting here, but do you ever just just get dumbfounded by how far this corruption can go?
Well, yes, and that's natural. And yes, also, I expected things like this to happen because over the years we didn't have the ability to reach the people as we have over the last 15 to 20 years. So, but we have had a chance, and we've done well, but not as well as we could. I had a letter from someone who was leaving Blackwater that said he'd been recruited to run an internment camp in New Hampshire. And he said that he told the government, no, I don't want to take that. I'm not interested in that assignment. And he said, I want to protect my family. And so all of the things that we've been hearing about retiring policemen, people coming out of the military, now people from Blackwater, are being recruited for these kinds of jobs, in this case a leadership position, and other things. So it is real. They are lining this whole thing up.
What do we do then? Just get across the true sense of urgency to people and explain this isn't science fiction, ladies and gentlemen. You need to make a decision about what you're going to do.
That's right, and you've got to participate. You've got to get Ron Paul elected, because if you do not, you're doomed. And if you do get him elected, it'll be a hard fight to reverse all of what's gone down over the past 20 years. I mean, there's a whole litany of things that have to be changed. And I'm sure Ron Paul will go after it right away. And I'm sure that as Alex and others have discussed with Ron, he'll be a target. And there's no question. And that's why the vice president is would be such an important person. And so this is our key. This is our legal key to be able to stop these people. So we got to get Ron Paul and people like him elected. We can make the changes. Yes, they might assassinate him. He knows that. And he doesn't want to leave his family, but, he's an elderly man. And so he's lived his life. And he's sacrificing himself for the American people. And then I see these people attacking him. I can understand how the CFR and the Trilats and the Bilderbergers and members of the Illuminati attack him. But I see others probably getting paid to attack him. And it's disgusting.
Well, I tell you, Ron Paul is really illustrating for the public just how controlled the corporate so-called mainline media is. And all of their tricks aren't working like they used to. So I guess that's why they're moving ahead with the martial law. The criminals that have taken over recognize they're not going to be able to bamboozle us anymore. So they think they're going to fall back on the police state measures and I guess bring in a bio attack to pose as our saviors and use that as a cover, or a terror attack or a mix of them, a Iran war. What else do you see in that cocktail?
It could be anything, and sometimes it's the last thing you think of. I mean, these people spend 24/7 using foundations and think tanks, counterintelligence operations.
War game computer simulators.
Everything you can think of. They have a tremendous advantage over us. We have to wait for them to act, too. We got to stand by and wait for them to blow something up or whatever they're going to do. And then we have to find a path to expose what they've done and at the same time stop what they've done. And so we have a very, very difficult job.
And we get to be laughed at the whole time. But, that isn't happening anymore, Bob. I mean, that 9% approval rating for Congress.
Not that you and I ever cared in the first place.
No, I mean, I don't mind for my...
armadillos is what we are, and it's pretty tough for them to pierce our armor.
Well, yes, you're right. I don't mind people attacking me personally in a sick way. I enjoy it just because I like